thrust. Put on side war up, sing it loud. And the Romeo Foxtrot, shall we dance?
You are listening to the Sitrep Podcast, your source for everything related to historical wargaming. Whether you are looking for the latest wargaming news, reviews, painting tutorials, or playthroughs, you will hear about it right here. So grab your favorite beverage or brush and let's hit it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next exciting show. This is show number 4 for season 6. We've got a packed house today, and we've got a lot of stuff to get through, so we're going to get right into it. So before we start with our usual check-ins with the team, I just want to let everybody out there listening know we do have a special guest today. We do have Jay from Feral Games to talk about his latest Kickstarter for Ghost Ops, an RPG and set in the modern warfare world. So, Jay, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, great. Good to be here again, second time, so it's nice.
Yeah, welcome back. All right, guys, so we're going to kick it right off with a quick catch-up, and then it's that time for, that moment in the sun for our newsman. But let's start off with a catch-up from the team. I'm going to have the busiest member start off first because I know he's got a lot to get through and he might have to kick out early depending on how the show goes today. So, Sir Jim, what are you up to now?
I'm up to a lot. Okay, on to the next person.
Up to his eyes, I think.
No, guys, people who watch our channel already know kind of what we're up to. This is literally Gulf War week now until, next Sunday. This is the 28th. We're at the 30th anniversaries now for all of the major Desert Storm ground battles. We've done some of the preliminary battles already. Wadi El Batin, El Kafji, stuff like that. The scud hunting missions that took place before the actual ground invasion went in. Now we're at the actual, Desert Saber 30th anniversary for the ground war, going in full barrel. So yeah, this next week is going to be packed with a last big salvo of Gulf War content. We've done a lot more battle group in 1991 expansion. We've done some more TCME Panzer Leader, which went up yesterday, and we've got another big battle for the Marines that are going in to Kuwait International Airport on the last day of the war. That miniature game has been started. First part's been filmed. Part 1 goes out on Wednesday. Part 2 we think will go out next Sunday in place of our weekend gaming. And for today on Weekend Gaming, we're trying out a brand new baby play test of a whole new system, a tank skirmish system for the modern setting, Battle Carry Sabo. So we're going to roll that out for 73 Easting. Because I've realized as we've gone through all of our Gulf War content that we've done U.S. Air Force, we've done SAS, we've done Royal Irish Hussars, we've done the Marine Corps 17 different ways. We haven't done the U.S. Army, including 7 Corps, which is like the biggest part of Gulf of the Gulf War, biggest part of Desert Storm. So I was like, all right, we got to fix that. 73 Easting is like the most famous battle of that war. We got to do it at least in one system. So we're going to do that later today in the community live stream. And, I haven't even play tested it myself solitaire. It's going to be a maiden voyage, man.
Awesome.
We'll see how it goes. We hope it's awesome.
But, who you got playing with you today, Jim?
Rasmus is going to join us today. And, it's going to be baby's first day out. We're going to see how it goes. First time dice hitting the table on this one.
Nice.
So who knows?
Very nice. Awesome. So it sounds like you're doing nothing but sitting around watching, TV and stuff. So.
Well, I'm letting the rest of the team carry me for a while.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that game today. Maybe if you need another player to help, I might be available. We can talk offline.
I've put the soft offer out there.
Yep. So all right.
It's Eagle Troop, 2nd Cavalry, 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment.
Nice.
McMaster's, the famous part.
Yep.
Part everybody's heard about.
All right. So, Martin, I hear you've been up to a few things going on.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I think I finished the board for our upcoming Ultra Combat Modern game.
Yep.
The turf itself is all laid out. We made it in 2x2 boards, so that way it would be modular. We could use it for smaller games, like if we wanted to make up. Currently, it's set up as a 6x4. There's a small Ukrainian village that now exists, and a small forest.
Nice.
As well as a bunch of roads. So that is ready to go. I know we were chatting earlier. I haven't set it up in the way the scenario is going to go. So, we may want to throw some more scatter on there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to kind of see what that looks like once everything's down on the table itself. But everything that is required for the mission is done.
Nice.
So,
what was that, Chris?
What's that, Chris?
Roads would help.
Yeah, I left the roads at my house. I forgot to bring them over last
It's fine.
night.
Not a big
They're
deal.
done.
Not a big deal.
So
we'll be ready to rock and roll on getting that video going.
And
that'll come out after Jim finishes up, terrorizing the poor Iraqi army in there in Desert Storm. I feel very sad for those guys. Very, very sad.
Yeah, and then segue into combining both of those as a palette cleanser from all this terrain that I've been building. I found a 1/48 scale model of an A10, and I'm building that right now. So,
nice.
So I'll have air support.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So, Mr. Wimmer, what's up?
Nothing much. Helping Marty, and that's it.
Excellent. He's that quiet one behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go over to.
Well, we've been.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say before we leave, Chris, we've been looking at some storage options for the studio because, well, as you know, there's a lot of stuff over there. So we may be going out to get like a giant rolling cabinet today.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah. Well, there's so much stuff.
We found some that were really awesome.
Nice.
And expensive.
Yeah, we're gonna need the SitRep credit card bill. If you can go ahead and let us have that.
As soon as I shit it out, you can have it.
All
right. Moving along.
Do that.
Merrily moving along. Let's shoot over across the pond to our resident historical painting Bob Ross of the SitRep podcast, Mr. Gaz. Sir?
Hello. I don't recognize myself with the description. I've not got that much hair for a start. I think there's more hair on my brushes than there is on my head. So I have managed to fit in a little bit of prep hobby this week in what time I've had available. So I've grabbed another Blood Red Skies box set. I've grabbed the Messerschmitt BF-109Es. So hopefully they'll be coming at some point in the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks. I'll try and get some paint down on these and get it filmed. To add to my Focke-Wulf 190s. And my friend Mark and I are going to be doing some Battle of Britain when things change back to a more normal world.
Nice.
So got a nice play mat based over France from Deep Cut Studios, so that looks really nice laid down. I've already had a look at that. Should have. He's got a mixture of Spitfires and Mosquitoes. So we'll be tearing up the skies a little bit, hopefully, in the near future.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
Sadly, the mic I ordered hasn't arrived because what I didn't notice was they were shut for holidays until like the 18th of February. So I've been sat here for a week thinking, where's the mic? And I decided to start to do a prompt to say, send me my mic, please, now. And instead I got a banner at the top that says, we're away from the 8th to the 18th of February. But literally the day after, the 19th, they posted it. So fingers crossed, it should be here for the next show.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right. Well, like I said, we did have a special guest with us. And Jay, we want to include you in the hobby catch-up. What kind of hobbying you have been doing recently outside of your Kickstarter?
Well, I role play quite a lot, so I do that for a few days a week. But I mean, I do some skirmish wargaming. Probably not quite on the level that a lot of your viewers, your listeners do. I tend to keep it simple and just stick with Games Workshop. So I know it's probably sacrilegious, but
hey, everybody, somebody's got to play it. Somebody's got to play it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy for. I mean, I'm not a great painter, and it's easy for me to paint. And there's a lot of, I like kit bashing, so I do a lot of that. I do a lot of sort of building weird and wonderful monsters and aliens and so forth, that stuff. So I kind of enjoy that aspect of it more than actually playing it.
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
It's a hobby more than anything else.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to throw mine out there real quick. So hobby-wise, have you saw the painting tutorial or speed painting, if you will, for the U.S. troopers for Ultra Combat Modern went up. I'm going to be filming the Russian side because I was told I'm a communist hater. It's true. I admit it. But, you know.
Yeah. What's the question there?
All right. But, you know, I was also informed that Russians in the modern world are not communists. They're Russians. So, to be equal opportunity, I will be painting a speed tutorial for the Russian troops that we'll be using in our Ultra Combat Modern table that Marty and Chris have been working so diligently on. On top of that, I'm going to be redoing my entire hobby room to make it more beneficial for filming.
What?
I know, right? So all the stuff's going to get emptied out of this room. Dawn doesn't know it yet, but that's what's going to happen. And then we're going to reorganize it so it's more efficient. And then lastly, I mentioned this on the painting tutorial video, but I'm going to make it an official throwout. So sometime here, I'm going to be filming a little design workshop. I don't know if I'm going to use Illustrator or something. I'm trying to find something that's a little bit more easier to use with my drawing tablet online, because we're going to do a one-day build of a table. It's going to be a 4x4 winter northeastern woods along the North American, United States, Canadian border to prep for Savage Frontier.
Why would we want to do that table?
What's that?
Yes. I said, why would we want to do that table?
Right? Snow, northern woods. Oh, yeah. So we're going to take you through it, and we're going to show you how I've discovered my own secret recipe for Sculpt-A-Mold. So we don't have to buy Sculpt-A-Mold anymore. We can just go to our local hardware store and buy the ingredients and make a ton of it, literally, and it's dirt cheap. So we'll share that with you.
Deal.
So we'll have Sculpt-A-Mold up the yin-yang. All right.
Diesel fuel and fertilizer?
What's that?
That's the info.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, so that'll be coming up shortly. So let's change gears real quick because our guest is on. He's ready to go talk about his new Kickstarter for his game. And he's in the middle of joining us kindly between dinner and a game session. So we're going to take the show to him. So, Jay, from Feral Games, why don't you tell us about your new Kickstarter?
Okay, right. Well, I'm doing a Kickstarter with Ghost Ops Second Strike, which is basically the second edition of Ghost Ops. It's been 3 years since I've actually published the first one.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of things have obviously changed since then because a lot of people have commented and played it and so forth. So really, the second edition is kind of a refinement and the improvement of what I originally done. But at a time when you first, especially as a small indie developer like myself, when you first do something, you never really know what the outcome will be and how much people will like it and how much people will hate it and stuff. But we've got a really active community on Facebook and on Discord and stuff. So that's been really great because I've been listening to feedback and listening to what people like, what they don't like, what they change, what they homebrew themselves. And I mean, I've even released some expanded stuff for regional Ghost Ops based on some of the homebrews that people have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt it was about time I kind of did an update for it and refined it. So this is what this is for, really. basically a Ghost Ops improvement. It is, I mean...
So it's essentially second edition?
Yeah, essentially second edition. I mean, the game is going to be different in a lot of ways, but it's going to be the same in other ways. So everything that, if you bought the Ghost Ops original and you've got all the source books and missions for that, then that will still work for the second edition.
Okay.
So you can still use all that material. You don't have to buy it all again, or we're not going to re-release it and stuff. It'll all be applicable, be all still relevant.
Good.
What's the changes though is I noticed that a lot of people in the original game we had a group called the ICO, which is what you were a member of, this kind of international covert operations, kind of like a Rainbow Six type group. And a lot of people who play it, who are ex-military or current military, tended not to use that. They didn't not to like it much. So what I've done in the new version is you can now play as the ICO if you want to play the ICO, but you can also play now as standard special forces.
Mm-hmm. You
can play as mercenaries, PM, sort of like private military contractors, PMCs. You can play as SWAT now, and you can also play as special agents as well. And we've got a goal in there where you can actually play as the activity.
Okay. Which
a few people are quite excited about, because obviously the activity being a super secret special forces unit makes few people kind of thrilled to be able to sort of play a group like that, which is not seen in many role-playing games. The other thing we're doing is I'm adding a tier aspect to the game. So you can now play in different eras. So the game will have settings for Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
So you can play as OSS, SAS, and also resistance fighters.
Nice.
You can play in Vietnam and the Cold War as well. There'll be rules for playing in the modern era. The actual game will come as a modern era setting, officially kind of thing. That'll be the main setting, and then other things will be added to it. You'll be able to play in near future based upon information from military production and DARPA and places like that, sort of based on the technology that is predicted to be coming up in the near future. And then you'll be able to also play in the far future, kind of almost like an Expanse mixed with Modern Warfare, that one that they did that was set in the far future, and I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, that kind of mix between, like, maybe sort of play as members of Space Force, but in a sort of 100 years' time when there's colonies on Mars and so forth. So the game is expanding outwards in areas where you can play in. It's just not going to be modern anymore. It's going to be throughout sort of recent history, really.
Okay.
Which is going to make... Which a lot of people ask for. A lot of people wanted to play in the Second World War, fighting against the Nazis, or they wanted to play in the Vietnam with Delta and other special forces groups that were active in the Vietnam War, and also during the Cold War in the 80s and 90s, when a lot of more so special forces groups started becoming more prominent. The SAS was one that would be the Iran embassy. Siege was obviously the main thing for the 80s for the SAS. So that's what I'm doing. I'm expanding it outward. The other thing a lot of people didn't like, well, a lot of people did like it. I think a lot of people came to like it, and a lot of people who didn't know much about it sort of discovered a new kind of system. But we're not just doing it for the fudge dice anymore. A few people didn't like the fudge dice or preferred it would be different in a different system. So the main book will be fudge, like the original. So the Feral Engine will be the main core, but there'll be a section at the back of the book which will allow you to play with a 2d6 or a d100.
Oh, a D100.
Yeah. So the whole thing will be expanded outward and bigger, basically. You'll be able to play more areas, more special. We have over 200 different backgrounds in it, special forces backgrounds, police backgrounds, special agent backgrounds, PMC backgrounds, and also for the eras. So there'll be Second World War backgrounds, Vietnam backgrounds, and so forth. So there'll be a lot more backgrounds, a lot more character options in the game.
Interesting.
So it should have everything that anybody wants in it.
Awesome. So will the Kickstarter offer, like, I know in the last Kickstarter you did, you had a hardback version offered in, or what's the incentive for somebody to back, obviously, other than to support the game? It's a great game and we want you to support it. So what would you say is the draw to get people in to support the new Kickstarter?
Okay, so apart from all the expanded stuff and all the extra things we're doing and refining of the rules and so forth, there will be the PDF available as usual, and there will be a hardback. But the hardback now is going to be properly printed. It's not going to be a print on demand like the original was.
Sure.
We can things have moved forward. I'm now working with a company called Wordforge Games, who have done a few Kickstarters in the past with other companies and so forth. And they're a lot more sort of networked with printers and distribution and so forth, which makes it easier for me. Whereas before, I was, it was 3 years ago, I was still pretty much wet behind the ears, really. And in some ways, I still am. But what this will allow me to do is actually get them properly printed. So they'll be properly printed with ribbons. There'll be a lot better quality. The whole look of the book will be pretty great. We're looking at maybe doing a kind of a leather-bound special edition of it as well. GM skins, dice, all of those things will be kind of coming up as stretch goals or add-ons. So there's a lot more scope. The books will be a lot nicer to look at.
Very nice.
And a lot bigger as well. So we're looking at least 300 plus pages for the core book. It'll be full size. So it'll be like the standard 8.5 by 11. Size rather than the 6x9, which the original was in. So it'll be a lot bigger book and have a lot more content. And as we unlock more content, there'll be more stuff going in it. So it could get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Awesome.
Also, the highest tiers, we're doing a tier where you can actually not only get the hardback and everything else, but you'll also get access to a Discord server where you can actually be part of help build the game, adding content and stuff and play testing, but you also have the ability to get a license to actually produce stuff for the game and sell it.
Oh, that's really cool. So is there going to be like a scenario booklet's going to come out at some point? Is that in the works, you think?
Well, there's going to be scenarios for every setting. There will be a scenario for it within the book. So there'll be one for the modern setting, then one for the whatever settings get unlocked. So each setting will come with its own sort of missions. There'll also be missions that will be stretch goals, which will be released as PDFs, and hopefully we'll be able to collect it into a physical book as well and release it. So there's going to be a lot of content. There's going to be a book of rogue nations, a book of gangs, cartels, terrorist cells. All of those things will come in, so you'll have plenty of scope to face whatever you want to face with the group. Obviously, with new weapons and new abilities, that all kind of becomes faster and more kind of realistic is how we're trying to get it. So that the combat will be more kind of realistic than it was previously. Even though the previous combat was pretty fast, we want to make it kind of feel more like you actually are in that sort of situation, and it's a lot more. So morale will come into it. So some of the bad guys may just give up and offer information in return for their lives, or they may shoot back, or they may just run away. So there'll be a lot of that sort of stuff going on. There won't be just standard shootouts which you get in a lot of sort of role-playing games where people just keep on shooting until they're dead.
Sure.
There'll be opportunities for enemies to flee or make deals.
Sorry, Jay. I see you've split the book down as well. Now you've got like an operator's book and a handler's book, I believe.
We were going to do that. But
all right.
on thought about it, I thought the one thing I don't like about a lot of role-playing games is when they split the book into two parts, right? And I thought this might be easier to do the printing of it. But this was before I actually got a printer. And I was going to do the whole thing with a pod. And I thought it'd be easier to do two separate books, quite large ones. But I think with a printing access, we believe now we have to print in the book properly with ribbons and stuff. We're actually combining both books into one and making the book bigger. So this is why the book could reach 3 to 3.5, well, even 400 pages possibly. So that's not going to be an option anymore. That's going to be something that when you buy the hardback, you get everything.
Nice. So if you don't like the result, you can strike your opponent with it as well, which is kind of nice. If he gets that really good roll at that really bad moment, you can use it as a deadly weapon as well, which is quite nice.
I thought you were going to use that giant D100 to bludgeon him with.
Do we even have opponents? I mean, this is a role-playing game. You don't really, I mean, I guess the storyteller is your opponent, or the operator. I should say the handler is your opponent.
The person rolling that dice.
There you go.
Yeah, I suppose in a way, I mean, the handler's meant to be kind of neutral and just basically go with whatever the players do, but sometimes they can be the opponent, depending on who your handler is.
What sort of stretch goals are you looking at with the Kickstarter, Jim?
Well, at the moment, the stretch goals are going to be the settings. So the first stretch goal you're going to come across is the World War II setting, which is going to be written by Bradley Clark, who's actually one of our community members, actually. I think this will be the first time he's written something for a role-playing game, so that's going to be interesting. But he's quite into his Second World War, and he's the one who kind of came to us to talk about it. And I like the idea. It's going to be, it's called Shadow War, and it's going to be, players are going to be able to play on SS and SAS and so forth. So he's going to be doing...
Assuming that there's also going to be some special operations executive in there, some SOE.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Set Europe ablaze.
Yeah. So that's how it's going. Yeah. So basically, you'll be able to play special. I mean, there weren't a great deal of special forces around in the Second World War, so it's going to be kind of interesting. But with resistance thrown in as well, and being able to play as resistance members, that should be quite intriguing. And then obviously,
just imagine hello in my mind right now, and I can play the policeman and the cafe owner.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind actually putting sort of some more kind of. We'll see how we go with it. We may expand it a bit further to go into places where you'll be able to have a group go into maybe reenacting Stalingrad and areas like that, because I find that sort of area of history kind of interesting a lot because of how Stalingrad went and the Russians against the Germans. So maybe specialist snipers and so forth. So you can sort of reenact the enemy at the gates and stuff. And then obviously the next one after that will be Vietnam. And then the Cold War. And so you'll be, these will unlock, and between these will be a mission, PDF mission packs will be able to unlock as well, and GM screens, and all of that stuff. So there's going to be quite a good selection of stretch goals available. And hopefully we'll unlock all of them, because that'd be nice. Because the more we get, the more we get into the book and stuff. One of the things I was actually thinking about, I think it's something I spoke to you guys about last year, actually, or the year before when I was on the last.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Was about the skirmish game. Yeah. It was about having the skirmish game, because there was a skirmish game at the back of the Ghost Ops rule book, and I don't know if many people used it, to be perfectly honest. And I don't think it was particularly great. It was, it was something that I kind of liked the idea of. I really did not know much about it at the time in order to do that. Mm-hmm. But it's something I would like to do as a skirmish game. But I'm not too sure if it's a little bit of a saturated market for sort of warfare, sort of skirmish games. I know there's things like Spectre and so forth, which are all kind of special ops. So it'd be something I'd like to do as a stretch goal, or something I'd like to do as a separate thing, as a stretch, as a skirmish game, or I don't think skirmish will probably work best because obviously it's small units of troops. So that's something I'm definitely looking into, and that's something that I'll still be interested in working with you lot for, if you're interested in still doing it. But that's something to do at some point in the future.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it will be something that a lot of the players would like to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And there's an awful lot of out there and so forth. And I think it would be kind of cool to have a Ghost Ops specific skirmish game. Where you can play as SWAT team members or PMCs or even ICO or standard special forces. Yeah. Another thing I was thinking of doing is this will be a separate together probably, but an alternate universe sort of aspect to Ghost Ops, where the Second World War games are more kind of like where the Nazis won and Tesla technology and all that sort of stuff, that kind of thing, that kind of people kind of like what if type scenarios. So you'll be able to put the characters through those type of conflicts. as an alternate sort of world thing. It wouldn't be for everybody, and it wouldn't be for the hard-nosed sort of military types, but for those people who kind of want a little bit of science fiction or fantasy in their games, that's another option I'd like to sort of throw in there. But we'll see how it goes.
A weird World War II type of deal?
Yeah, kind of. More like sort of like a sort of, well, one of them would be the Nazis and maybe even moon Nazis. You know, I mean, that sort of thing. All the technology they were supposed to have, and the Project Blue Book, Project, what was it called? Project Blue Fire, where they had the UFOs and all of those.
Yeah,
sort
with
of,
all the Nazi, crazy technology searching and cult stuff and whatnot. Yeah, you could really
exactly.
incorporate some cool stuff there.
Yeah, exactly. And then do the same for things like all the other settings. So you'd have like, a more sort of maybe an apocalyptic Armageddon type modern warfare one, where you have it a bit more like, everything's gone down and you're basically stuck behind them. It's like a Twilight 2000, but with special forces. So yeah, a few things like that would be kind of cool. But that would be a long way off. I reckon it'll be a separate thing altogether. But that's definitely something I'm looking into doing. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
How long
looking
is
forward to
the Kickstarter going to be running for, Jay?
21 days. So it starts on Tuesday and it will keep on going, I think, until the 16th of March, I think it goes for. There is a launcher I've released that keeps you informed of when it launches. There will be an early bird that will last 48 hours, which is quite a lot of stuff. And once that 48 hours is up, it becomes a £75 pledge. So but for 50 quid, you get quite a lot of stuff like the hardback. You get all the physical stretch goals like the TM screen, dice trays and that sort of stuff, all the PDF stretch goals. So you get an awful lot of stuff for your £50. If you're going to do it, grab your early bird because that's the best deal, really. It's going to be. I think I'm quite excited about the new game. I've been working on it a lot, listening to what people have to say and what they don't like, and I've really tried to make it a lot more open and a lot more choices for people. So they don't have to play the ICO, and they don't have to do this, and they have to use a fudge dice. They can just. And I want to kind of open up to a lot of people because, there's already gold on drive-through, which is great. But I think if I'd opened it up with different dice systems and more options, it may have actually been a lot higher. Because I think a lot of people may get turned off by dice that are a little bit odd. They're not the standard dice. So I don't want to have that limit anymore. I want to kind of open up to everybody, really. So, yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys, there you go. That's Jay from Feral Games talking about his next Kickstarter, which kicks off Tuesday, 3 p.m. GMT time.
Yeah.
So that would be roughly 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think I got it now. All right. So there you go. Jay, as always, it's awesome to have you on the show. Don't be a stranger. Let's not make it another 2 years or so. Definitely we'll be backing the Kickstarter, and I would love to run a game with members of our family here and on the podcast and see if we can get a campaign going. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'll be in touch. I'm happy to do updates. It's just that sometimes I'm just so busy I don't get the chance to do anything right. But I'm happy to pop on and do updates too so often, or if people have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. And yeah, definitely. As soon as I get something together, I'll send you over a playtest beta.
Oh, perfect.
And you can playtest it and let you know what you think, and that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're happy to do it for you. So thanks very much. Enjoy your Sunday night. Go finish your supper and your game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, cheers. We'll talk to you.
Best of luck on your Kickstarter, Jay.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, guys, there you go. So make sure you look out for Tuesday for the Kickstarter. It's for Feral Games, Ghost Ops. Gaz, help me. What's the full name for the Kickstarter?
First Up, Second Strike.
Thank you.
First Up, Second Strike.
Thank you. I want to say second
Beat
edition.
me to my mic.
I just couldn't remember. I know he called it something other than second edition. So Second Strike. So make sure you guys look out for that. So it's now time to change gears, and it's that time.
Oh, dear.
It's news time with Gaz. Give me the latest and greatest news. Oh boy, it's news time with Gaz. Come on, give it to me. Give me the news.
There you are, sir.
That is so cringy every time I hear that. I'm currently rubbing my face, trying to disguise
Well, at least
myself
it's
from my
your
own
face
room.
you're rubbing.
Well, yeah. Hey, it didn't say James. I'm not like Jim, who wants to hear the lovely British accent.
Oh, I'm working on that one. Don't you worry.
Where's my sexy British chick? Gaz doesn't even appreciate his, and I'm over here waiting for one, and I don't have it.
It's
What's going
coming.
on?
I got to make it
All right.
just right.
Here you go.
There's always so
I just want to know what the intro bot looked like.
Okay, because it's sexy for you. That's your, regular language. What language is good for you? French?
No, I don't want any of that. I'm happy with just going with the news.
Anyway, a nice Southern girl for you.
All right. Bring
was
on the
there you
news,
go.
Gaz. Bring it on. She's waiting for you.
So, in the news this week, we're going to touch on a number of different points in history. We're going to kick off with the Vitrix line. Obviously been going for quite a long time now, and there's been some updates recently on their Facebook page. One particularly caught my eye, and that's a return to their 28mm Napoleonic range with some cavalry options. And of all things, it's the British Dragoons. These miniatures are absolutely lovely. I think horses are one of the most difficult models to get right in a lot of historical. And the job these guys have done in making the poses look active and vibrant is excellent. They've also got a head swap that allows you to do the Scots Greys, which is a really nice way of expanding what is already their sort of core set into being able to use it for more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also followed up saying we'll soon be seeing a trumpeter and an officer being added to the force before they move on to the Household Cavalry. So they're really going in all guns blazing on this one, and I can't wait to see more of what comes out of it.
Wow. It blows my mind that people will play Napoleonics at 28mm. That's a lot of minutes. I mean, honestly, you can't play. In my personal opinion is you cannot play Napoleonics at a skirmish level game. It wasn't a skirmish. They were big battles. Even the small battles were not small. So to put a lot of 28mm troops on the table, even to represent, regiments, whatever, the brigades, whatever they used, organizational they used during that time, it's still a lot of minis. And to do it at 28mm, that's a lot of painting. A lot of painting.
Well, maybe, and you need like a 16 by 4 table just to play it.
Oh, you need, yeah, you're right.
Any of the battles, I would definitely agree with that. However, there is a lot of skirmish type guerrilla warfare going on in the Napoleonic Wars. The Peninsula campaign is probably the best example.
Okay.
So you can do it, but you kind of have to shop for it.
Yeah.
There is a use case for it. It's just not. No, I'm not suggesting you do Leipzig at 28 millimeter. 400,000 people. It's like Waterloo times 3. This is Waterloo times 3, which is Gettysburg times 2, which is the entire American.
Because you need a basketball court to play it on.
Yeah,
it's
you
America.
need a basketball stadium. Yeah.
Bigger's better. I think it's got a lot of opportunity for some of the smaller skirmish rule sets, like the Sharps rule set, like that. Where they come across French lancers, and they've got to defend somebody. You always get those images in the films of a small packet moving that gets engaged by somebody else's outliers, skirmishers, scouts, etc. So I think there's some opportunity to have it. But for me, honestly, dioramas, I think it's one of the best things to have a diorama of. Is even if it's just a French lancer or 2 or 3 French lancers charging some guys, dealing and firing at them. It's something that looks really good on the tabletop.
Yeah, most definitely.
As well,
for sure.
Most definitely. All right, what else has you got there, Mr. Newsman?
So next up on the tally, we're moving across to Wargames Atlantic. They're bringing an area of history that I didn't really know hardly anything about and still don't, but the Boxer Rebellion in China. So with this one, they've just started sort of tooling for their miniatures range. This is set a fair while ago, but the rebellion itself was sort of a Chinese uprising, so you're getting a lot of basic sort of tools, and kit and equipment is mainly sort of clothing and the odd swords, and it's a really interesting one that I need to look more into now that I've found out about it. They're looking to do a 40 miniature box set to bring it on, and looking forward to seeing where they run with it, and to delve a bit more into a part of history I'm not really aware of.
Interesting.
Famously, they have a guy in there that's called Tiger Man, who basically dressed in the fur of a tiger during the rebellion and was a bit of a focal point. He used it as a mechanism for a PR campaign where he would, raid with the guys and get away with sabotage and dealing with enemy forces and get away. So, they're doing a miniature specifically for him, which is kind of cool.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, he sounds like a good character.
You can do one of either, I can't remember if it's Dan Daly or Smedley Butler. Not Smedley Butler, Dan Daly or, God, I should know this. One of 2 Marines in the history of the Corps who won 2 Medals of Honor. He won one of them in the Boxer Rebellion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Boxer Rebellion, for people in the chat or people in our audience who may not be aware, was a Chinese uprising. It started off as a bunch of small groups quickly coalesced into one big group, more or less, who were pretty much fed up with foreign intervention in China. China was a very, very weak and fragmented country at the time, and pretty much it was a free, handbasket for anyone who wanted like foreign colonial exploitation. So you would have German, you would, it's like 1899, 1898, 1900, something like that. Yeah, you're going to have German troops, Japanese troops, American Marines, the British were there, the French, every colonial or post-colonial power you can think of, they're all there. And they're all fighting these very numerous, very fanatical, but woefully underarmed like Chinese peasants. And you've got like Maxim machine guns and Gatling guns and stuff like that against them. Along with, Imperial Chinese troops who are trying to keep these colonial powers happy because, we're kind of, the old story, the foreign intervention, I'm going to, crooked, not crooked, powerful, like plutocratic, corporate, kingpins or whatever, they lean on their governments in Parliament or the U.S. Congress or the German, government or, all these little governments. They say, okay, I'll put a battalion of troops there. Now your company is safe to do whatever the hell you want to these people. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. It's almost like a dress rehearsal for a lot of what we would see later in the 20th century and even nowadays, where, companies lean on their governments and then those governments put a footprint in somebody else's country so that the companies that are funding their election campaigns or whatever can go ahead and, do whatever they want as far as corporate exploitation. You see that in Asia, Africa, Latin America, all over the place. Definitely a bloodbath. Boxer Rebellion was no joke. That's for damn sure.
Well, that's one of those areas that I don't think gets enough attention. It's one of those nice little things for, gaming that is, if you're looking for something a little different, if you want to get away from WW2 and Napoleonics and all that stuff, you can have a little game of this. And there's a lot of terrain out there that you can get, for that era, believe it or not. So it's, it can be as difficult or as easy as you want. So definitely check that out. All right, Gaz, what do we got going on next?
Next up,
quick question, Gaz, on the Boxer Rebellion. Did you mention what scale the miniatures were going to be in?
It's 28 mil.
28 mil. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they're going to be a multi-part. The tooling shows that they've already got separate heads, separate arms, main body section. So there'll be, although you'll have 40 miniatures, you'll essentially be able to chop and change around. So you could probably almost do the whole box, if not the whole box, without without doing the same pose twice.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Beheadings were very, very common in the Boxer Rebellion, so you could even have some post. I'm actually not kidding. You could have some post.
Use the leftover head.
Yeah.
It always goes to the dark side, doesn't it?
That's what happens when you make me historical editor. History is a dark subject.
There's never a bright side.
But if you want a funner view or more fun view of this, the way I found out about the Boxer Rebellion, like 30 years ago, was one of those old Shaw Brothers kung fu movies.
Really?
So I'm not gonna vouch for its historical accuracy, but yeah, those old 1960s, hilarious to watch, kung fu movies. Needless to say, the Boxer Rebellion has a very different sort of a demeanor in Chinese culture than we often look at it here in the West. So we're kind of the bad guys in that one. But yeah, there's some great movies out there if you don't mind those old. What do they call those? I just call them Shaw Brothers kung fu movies. You guys know what kind of movies?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was that Steve McQueen movie. Wasn't that filmed theoretically taking place around the Boxer Rebellion, where he's on that ship?
I'm not familiar with what movie you're talking about.
Oh my God, I can't remember the name of that movie now. I'll look it up and find out. But all right, what else? What's next?
I'll never make it through a full news section. Next up, we've got Empress Miniatures. They've continued into their Vietnam range expansion. So they've been doing a lot recently. I mean, they put SEAL teams in. They've put a lot of American and Vietnamese infantry, civilians, all sorts. But what I really like is their latest edition, which is elephants. So on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a lot of the time they use elephants to move around heavy gear and equipment. And so they've added them to the range, and they've made some of their miniatures so that they can sit astride behind the elephant's head around the neck. So really nice as just something a bit different, because obviously a lot of people, a lot of ranges do similar models. So to have something that's a little different in the makeup of your force, something that can be an objective or something that you can play around with, was just not quite the same, was a real nice change of pace.
Gaz, what scale?
So it's their scale, so it's 28 mil.
Okay, so Marty, we need a 148
too.
I was going to say, I want to see an A1 Sky Raider versus an elephant.
Oh dear!
Because if it's on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, it's never going to be in ground combat. You're only going to be doing airstrikes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mentioned
Fair game.
Arc Strike.
Awesome.
Arc Light.
Yeah, it's going to leave some bad marks on that trail.
A few.
Moving swiftly on from animal cruelty to...
All right, I'm putting my microphone on mute now, guys. Go ahead.
Well played.
It's a dark place, Jim. You live in a dark place.
Oh my God, beheadings and animal cruelty. Where is Jim today?
No, I'm kidding.
All right, go ahead,
That's
buddy.
why we all get along so well. We're all dark.
We all love it, really.
I'll tell you what, I think this is a preview for Jim's topic. I'm looking forward to it.
Next up is Spectre Miniatures, actually. So bringing it right back up to modern. They've redone a lot of their resin. Their stock levels are returning, and now you can pick up some of their HMV stuff. HMV, what does HMV actually stand for?
HMV?
You're the news guy, Gaz. What?
Oh no, I've got a picture of it here in front of me because I've put all the links in, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is an American vehicle, and
you're talking about a Hummer. My vehicle.
There you go.
Yeah, Hummer.
Yeah,
right.
But we don't call them HMVs.
But what does HMV stand for?
HMMWV, heavy military,
high purpose.
High mobility military
wheeled vehicle.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what it means.
So that's why everybody calls it the Hummer, obviously, and the fact that it's easier. Yeah. So the guys have
also like to say Hummer.
Range, and you also like that as well. In addition to that, they've redone a lot of their weapons, so now you can get some of your technicals fitted out with miniguns and other options, twin MMGs, M2s, grenade launchers, all sorts. They've got a real nice mix up and running now. And then when it comes to the other side of the fence, they've got some tripod-mounted tows just sat in the back of a technical, which I absolutely love. The M40, good luck being the guy that fires that in the back of there, and a BMP-1 turret on the back of a technical. Jim, they've definitely upped their game. I think we need to revisit our hex-based game system with a BMP-1 turret on the back of the technical.
I could do with a 76mm automatic cannon on the back, or a semi-automatic cannon.
Having the shopping trolley that we used that time,
there you go.
I think
BMP-1 turret. That's a good 1.5-2 tons, man. That's a pretty heavy piece of gear. How the hell do they traverse? I wonder.
Well, they mounted it on the back of a big truck, not like a pickup truck, but like a garbage truck that doesn't have the garbage canister on the back of it.
Oh, it's a pickup truck.
So is it just like pointing out the back, almost like N4T style? Like the old
God, I'm looking at it.
It's been raised up on a frame, so it's just higher than the roof chassis of the cabin, and the gun is over the front of the vehicle.
How does it traverse?
It's like a cobbled together frame.
It must not traverse. It must be a fixed mount. Please tell me it's a fixed mount.
I can't.
It doesn't move. Like it's not rotating.
They just aimed the truck. All right, so they made a little baby tank destroyer out of it. All right. That would, you know what? We all laugh, but that would be if it's a full BMP-1 turret. It's got the AT-3 Sager missile on top of the gun. That makes it a dangerous vehicle.
Don't
believe me? For the crew or for people that have been shot at?
Well, both. But, if you don't believe the AT-3 is the AT-3 Sager is dangerous, talk to the Israeli Tank Force. To this day, they still call Monday, October 8th, 1973, Black Monday. But anyway, it doesn't matter because they don't have the AT-3 Sager on there. But if it's a BMP turret, it should have an AT-3 on there.
I think this thing needs wheelie bars for when it fires, put it that
way. Right?
Self-propelled artillery has like that spade that comes out the back and races.
Right?
They should have made that with the back suspension blown out and the bed right on the wheels.
The third area that they've sort of restocked on is their drones, which are obviously really nice. You got the Puma UAV. There's a couple of the sort of the tier 1 sort of drone operator with a small, a basic drone system, a 4-prop. Then you've got an insurgent as a drone operator with a laptop open and a small drone with him. And you've got the Mars robot as well, which again makes some real nice options for your scenarios and how you want to play the game. So it's good to see that they're managing to restock and bring themselves back in from the cold of COVID.
Nice. All right.
As a final one for the news, it's, as you know, Bill, I believe you and Marty know quite a bit about the Savage Frontier Kickstarter.
Would you like me to take this one, Gaz?
I think I'll segue you into that.
All right. So, as you know, last week we did an interview on Monday night with Tim and Glenn from Footsore Miniatures North America to talk about the Kickstarter for Savage Frontier. This is the winter. I'm going to put it out as the winter campaign for the French and Indian War. These are a lot of miniatures that are in winter clothing garb, and the Kickstarter kicked off on Friday. And they are now currently, I just checked the number, as of time of this recording, $29,348. Their initial goal was $7,000, so they have killed it. So,
and the last stretch goal I saw was
the book,
the hardcover book at $30,000. So,
so we're close. We're so close. So I've definitely backed it, and I know Marty did, and that so. Guys, if you're looking for a little bit of, a different era of conflict, definitely check it out. It looks really good. All right, Gaz, you survived another news. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do I need to get you an outro?
So now we...
Hell no.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to jump over to Jim because I know Jim's going to have to kick off because he's got a game to get ready for. So, Jim, do you want to bring us into your topic, sir?
That's all for the news. Until next time, guys.
Oh, my God.
Hey, this is recording. We can just flip that clip right out of here.
Well, there you go. As long as you get that long, satisfied groan from Ed Gas in there as well, I'm happy. All right, so my topic, I'll go through it quick because I used up enough time. I was just going to ask about collateral damage in war games. Do you guys do it, use it, like it, love it, hate it, don't pay attention to it? I bring it up because collateral damage was a big factor in this week's brigade level Marine Corps versus Iraqi Army game at El Jabra Airfield. And the Marines kind of lost that game. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that video yet, yes, even in a risky these war games, the Marine Corps does lose once in a while. What? Yeah, it's possible. We lost mostly. Ironically, I lost because I was afraid to do too much collateral damage. I think I kind of screwed it up. There's a rule in that game, TCME, Tactical Combat Middle East by Toshesh Miniatures, where if you drop too much of your M777s or your 120s or your 4.2s, your mortars, into certain hexes that have like built-up areas. In this case, we had actual city hexes, and we even had some oil fields, or oil refinery hexes, I should say. And the Iraqis had their own Soviet-made and Chinese knockoff 120mm mortars kind of hidden in there. And I didn't want to call in airstrikes or artillery barrages on them because in that game, the total number of points that your artillery attack does, divide that number in half and award that many points to the Iraqis as victory points. This limits the coalition player from doing too much collateral damage as they invade Kuwait. We're supposed to be liberating the place, not, turning it into a parking lot.
Sure.
Now, because of that, sure enough, these 120s started dropping, HE frag on my on my Marine platoons. I lost a couple amp tracks, and I even lost some Marine infantry platoons. So I took way too many casualties and wound up losing the game. Going back and kind of redoing the math, I'm not going to replay the game because the game took 12 hours, but kind of like replaying it in my head and looking at the math, if I had just gone in there and said, the hell with it, I'm just going to eat the points on collateral damage and just paste all those fools right off the bat, that not only in history but also in the game actually did a really good job at recreating the historical conditions. The only thing the Marines were really afraid of that day was Iraqi artillery. Their tanks were a joke, and their infantry were literally giving up as fast as they could run towards us with their hands raised. Iraqi artillery, however, was a huge threat, and the only Marine casualties they took physically, historically on the day, were from Iraqi artillery, and it was the only thing they were really worried about. Sure enough, it was the only thing that did any damage to me in this brigade level game. So should I have just gone in there and said, the hell with the collateral damage points and just taken out these mortars and howitzers right off the bat? I eventually took them out, but not before they did way too much damage to my force. And
so why are you going against the Marine doctrine?
Why am I going against Marine doctrine? I don't know. That's my point.
Maybe I level everything, right?
Maybe I did go against Marine doctrine. Also, number one Marine doctrine is follow fucking orders. And if you're not supposed to drop howitzer shells into Kuwaiti oil refineries, number one on your list of things not to do is to drop mortar shells into Kuwaiti oil refineries.
Yeah.
However,
not going in and leveling everything.
No, that's not Marine Corps doctrine at all. In fact, but in this case, it probably should have been. In fact, historically, I actually think you're kind of right because I built the forces exactly as they were on the day. I ran the actual game exactly as the battle unfolded on the day, and I took like 20 times as many casualties. So, to your point, Chris, I think maybe I actually should have what I should have done, and that's kind of the point of the topic: is when is collateral damage a factor, especially in modern games when everyone's got a TV camera? When is collateral damage not a thing? Do you guys deal with it? Do you guys leave it alone? Is it something you have to look out for in your modern war games?
Well, that's a good topic. Honestly, the only time I've ever thought about it is if it was built into the rule set. Other than that.
Well,
so
the rule set being it is built into the rule set here.
Yeah. So, I mean.
In TC, but
yeah. But then again.
Usually it's kind of a scenario rule thing, not the core rule set of a game.
Yeah. And then again, it's when it comes down to it, the few games I've played where it's built into the rule set or the scenario is, unless it's an automatic loss for my side, I have to weigh, do I take the hit for points? If I want to really eliminate a target that's really becoming an issue and harassing my forces and eating away, do I take out that grid or hex or whatever the case is and eat the points, because in the long run, it'll save me a bigger loss. So
I think that was kind of the case in my game today. After the game, I kind of went back. I counted up where all the Iraqi artillery was. I kind of reverse calculated how much artillery it would have taken to eliminate all that, and divide the number by 2. Basically, applied those rules. Take the total number of damage divided by 2 as victory points. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have won.
I think most games, when you start, you've already sort of determined your ROE because you kind of engage, don't you? Be it whoever gets first turn. So I think with a lot of the modern games, especially skirmish, there's a lot of space to use battle damage assessment, collateral damage assessment, and add those house rules to those games to make it more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. It adds that
And
extra
a lot
dynamic.
of times, I think a lot of times people or designers will add it, either designers of the game system or designers of the scenario will add it in there specifically, never mind historical, or if you're trying to make some kind of bullshit, political or cultural statement, but on top of all that, just to keep it on the gaming table, to give the weaker side a chance. I mean, the insurgents are always the weaker side. They don't have Abrams and Apaches and, satellite-driven, drones dropping Hellfire missiles on their heads. So how do you give them a chance? Well, if the stronger side actually uses all this firepower and uses it too liberally, the insurgent player might squeak out a win. Because one Hellfire missile into a school or a hospital or God forbid something else, an orphanage or something, that's going to be all over all the networks. And that captain or colonel or major is, going to be working for Dairy Queen by the end of the quarter, because his military career is pretty much over.
Mm-hmm.
That's a defeat. And I don't know if, other people in the community or even other members of the team ever, looked into that angle of, especially modern. I mean, in the Napoleonic era, did they really care about collateral damage? First of all, they always fought out in an open field. And number 2, their weapons didn't really do that much collateral damage. They just burned down half of Russia, burned down Moscow. They don't care, But in the modern era, you can't really get away with that.
Right.
Without any question.
So one of the things with that, though, is, you've got the protect the fire list or protect the target list, whatever it is. And, a captain can't call in artillery on something like a school or a hospital. I mean, that has to go well above his pay grade to be able to do that.
So you would just have that built into your list as well, or built into your rule set as well. You can call an artillery wherever you want, except not here.
Or if you do it, you have to push it twice as much, something.
Right.
More action points or something. Just because that does have to, or it takes twice the time to be able to fire on it, because you have to get approval and you have to show that we're taking.
You got to get approval from echelons above reality.
Oh, yeah, I got you. He doesn't go to, battalion or brigade. He's got to go all the way up to division or God knows where.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to be taking fire from that. You can't just level it because it's cool.
Uh-huh. Well, it's food for thought, that's for sure. That's for sure.
I think it's easier to manage in a campaign system where you can have a PR element that affects your ability to reinforce or get supply.
Mm-hmm.
Or
it's more difficult in a straight up just one game.
Yeah. Or you supplied the enemy a lot by doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, like you say, that's pushing fighters across, making blood debts against families because you killed their brother, and therefore they're now joining the opposition forces, which we know about, which is why attacks are often changed to hearts and minds after doing initial engagements.
Yeah. I mean, a good game that kind of played into what happens with Collateral Damage, or was the transit game. When you had the guys, when you did your rolls to see if they were neutral or if they went to the good guys or the bad guys, depending on combat, in the streets and things like that. So, that was a secondary.
Too many explosions. Someone's a new technical for gas. Hopefully without a BMP turret on the back.
Kill the interpreter. Kill the interpreter.
That's the interpreter.
So speaking of which, guys out there, and I'm talking to our audience, our crew, our players, if you want to see the return transit game, shout out to us. Put it in the comments. Let us know. I would be interested to see a transit return game, based upon how we ended up the tabletop game. So, let's see where that goes. All right, Jim, thank you very much for that. I don't know if you need to kick off, sir. Not literally, but you know what I mean. So we're going to move over to Marty because that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, so as folks that are familiar with the show know, I'm kind of a rookie. I've really been tabletop gaming for a couple of years now, so I'm not a super expert on things. And I was thinking about it this past week, and I'm like, now that the pandemic has a light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. Mm-hmm. We can start to get back to gaming.
Right. And
when we get back to gaming, how do we bring new people into tabletop gaming? How do you introduce this to your friends that, this is not something that they've done before? Make it a good experience, make it something that they might enjoy, so you can bring someone else in and you've got someone to actually play your games with.
Have them play 40K. Do you know why I say that? Because when you play 40K and you see how not fun it is, then you want to play something else. No, I'm kidding.
About that.
What you said is, since we can't go to the restaurants, we still can get out. Let's go over here and play this game.
Right. I mean, really, it comes down to is you have to find a game that's quick and easy to play. Honestly, it comes down to what are your barriers to entry? Finding a game that's quick, it's easy to play, it's easy to understand, and it has to have a visual aspect to it. 99% of people who play it outside of your classic war gamers who like their hex and counter games, the ones that want to play miniature-based games want a visual aspect to it. They want to see armies on the table, whether it's, Napoleonics and all the bright colors of all the armies, or if it's, World War II and you have tanks and infantry and whatever going across a battlefield. There's got to be a visual aspect to it. So
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm very much the rule of cool. I'm not necessarily picking my army because I think that that's the power list that's going to win the game. I like the dudes that I like.
Right.
I like these uniforms. I like their gear. These are the ones I want to. They may not be the best list to play, but they're the ones that I think are cool, and I want to paint up and have as part of my army.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I was thinking about that may be a factor here. So we don't want the real crunchy game to start off with. As you said, something that's more simple, that's easy to get into. But I think that like the new person for their first game that they are going to purchase, you want to have not only all of the simple rule sets and the stuff that we've talked about, but yes, you need a good starter set that two people can play right out of the box.
Yep.
I mean, you might still have to paint some stuff up, but it's not terrain intensive necessarily.
Yeah.
It's got two opposing forces, or at least two opposing forces. So that way you can take your little box crap over to your buddy's house, set it up on the kitchen table, and go play a game.
Mm-hmm.
So to make that easier, the starter set should be very basic painted. Because
pre-painted.
Yep. They're not going to want to buy all the paints and everything if they're not going to enjoy the game.
True.
Yeah. That could certainly be a factor, and like, so I got what did I get there? Delta 10 by Bonza Games. I got that for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a game I think meets the mail for that. I mean, literally, it's got 2 6-man squads in it. It's got the Russians and UK. And the only terrain that you actually need to start playing the game is 6 little connexes, and they provide those as cardboard cutouts that you put together. So you can put those together, cut them out, glue or tape them together, throw them on the table, and you can play the first 5 training missions in their book. I mean, the figures aren't painted, to Chris's point, but for me, obviously, that's not a barrier to entry. I like painting my little dudes, and I've got enough to do it. But you could certainly run them, and get a can of red spray paint, make all the commies red, get a can of blue or green spray paint, make all the UK guys that color, and go run your dudes.
Right.
It's kind of old news, but a set that really did a great job with what everyone's talking about was the old open fire starter set from Battlefront for Flames of War.
Mm-hmm.
The miniatures themselves weren't terribly well manufactured, but the idea was there. Battlefront has since really upped the game. This is like 5-6 years ago. But yeah, the open fire box set came with an American. I think you could also do it as British if you wanted to, but basically an Allied force and a German force. They put the right tanks in the starter set. It wasn't King Tigers and goddamn Mouses and all this other stuff that never saw the light of day. It was the Allied force came with Shermans, not Fireflies, not Easy 8s, not just basic M4A2 crap boxes. The actual the old school Sherman, the vanilla Sherman, and the Germans came with Stugs.
The majority, yeah.
Yeah, like the actual armor that most German units actually have. Technically, they're not even tanks. So the old STG-3 Gs with the long 48s. They weren't pre-painted, but I think the Allies came in green plastic. The Germans came in gray plastic. I might be wrong about that. So they were kind of pre-painted, or they were at least pre-colored. And the terrain that came, the terrain in the box was like Marty was saying, don't have it be terrain intensive. I mean, it was super cheap, but it was just to get you started. And it was like a little plastic or a little cardboard, bush that you would put down on the table and say, okay, that's trees. Here's a building. Here's a road. You could have like a tiny little, 2x2, 15 millimeter game real fast. That's what got you into it. And it was like, both sides could play, both players could play with the purchase of this one box. And then if you liked it, okay, now you get into it. And now you actually start buying.
Right.
You start building lists, buying those armies, selective, purchasing things off of websites, priming, painting, building,
suddenly
pointing up.
Some paints, yeah.
Yeah, before you know it, boom, you are a normie no more. You are a freak like the rest of us.
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I think the current version of
that's kind of my goal.
What was that, Marty?
I was going to say that, and that's the goal is to can be able to convert some folks that hadn't considered it or seriously thought about playing it because either they have no idea whatsoever what this is, or they've seen like footage from a show. They see the table at Salute and they're like, I could never do that. Well, you don't have to do that. Day one. Don't do that. You don't need this giant beautiful table. It's awesome to have, but if we want to play the game, let's pare it down to the core stuff that you really need to play the game. And if you enjoy it, get into it as much as you want. And
Just
as you were saying, Hit the Beach was another good one.
So Hit the Beach is their current version of that from the guys at Battlefront for Flames of War. Essentially, you get 50 points of the two forces, which is about half of what a tournament or event game would be, which is 100 points. So it gives you a nice core to then add to. I'm just looking at the box set, for example. Now you get 5 plastic Shermans that are 75 mil, 3 plastic Shermans that are 76 mil, parachute rifle platoon. We get a Panzer Grenadier HQ, a couple of Panzer Grenadier platoons, 3 Panzer IVs, so that's your opposition armor, a couple of plastic 7.5 anti-tank guns with crews. You get the A5 size rulebook, a quick start guide, a nice little plastic V1 flying bomb terrain piece to put as an objective. You get dice, you get the unit cards. You know, it's a real good step-off point, and that's the type of thing we're looking at. And the thing I like most about it is, if you go and look at their site for this, they show you how to build each one. They show you the layout of the sprues and what every piece of it is. And they even have links to assembly guides with step-by-step information for every vehicle and for the infantry and everything. So you, as a bite the cherry for the first time, it's probably one of my favorite setups to just pick up a box set, 2-player start, go to the website and see everything that you need to do to even put it together.
Oh yeah, very nice. That sounds, like a perfect place for someone that's brand new to the hobby to, enter into the realm, so to speak.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it costs about, I don't know, I think you can get it as low as sort of £40, so about $45, $50, and you've got a 2-player game that you just put out on a table. You can put some terrain to it, or whatever you want, pencils for barricades. You could just put something together, but it's all there for you, pretty much ready to go, with a lot of explanation to help you get that first few pieces together as well.
But yeah, nice, modest, common unit types. The kind of stuff that was actually there in most, except for the V1, but that's just like you were saying, terrain. Yeah. No crazy, king tigers, no panthers, no big cats at all. You have workhorses, the Stug 3 and the first kit, and the kit you're talking about sounds like you've got some Mark 4s. Those are probably G's or H's, nice late war stuff. Band of Brothers crap that everybody's seen. Just whatever you do, don't start them on Risk or Axis and Allies, because those aren't war games. And that's the end of the shortest rant in history. Those are not war games. They're fun games. They're just not war games. Risk is not a war game. Come on, man. Okay, I'm done.
So one of the other things that I liked, it's not true modern war, is Dust, where they have their grid and there's no measuring, that keeps it fast. And that's another good way to introduce people.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice simple mechanic there.
Yep.
I too enjoy it very much.
It's a good entry game. I mean, the models come assembled. It's an easy system to learn. It is challenging though, so it's not like so there's a lot of good stuff to it, and it's sort of historical, and weird World War II, but it is what it is.
Speaking of that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I know we said I like hex and counter games for openers. That's only because a Risk and Jim plays big crunchy hex and counter games. There are nice, simple, open, get normies to play hex and counter games out there, and you can buy them in Target. And we're talking about the Memoir 44 series.
That's true.
Has anyone ever tried one of those?
I've never played it.
Good call.
I used to first of all, I walked by it in Target, and I was like, well, come on, this is a Risk and Jim you're talking. If you can buy it in Target, it's not a war game. It's not, come on, bullshit. But someone back when we used to have a gaming club, somebody actually had it, and I was really impressed. It is a starting game. It is a, convert a normie to a war gamer kind of thing. It's not, Panzerleader, but, yeah. It's light, it's fast, it's easy. The manufacturing in the hexes are to the point where you can put a board down and then you get like these modular, like cardboard or like MDF, or I don't know what they're printed on. It's like a really, really thick cardstock, pretty sturdy. And it's not like the old Panzerblitz punch sheets where the tank is sometimes like half off the counter because, printing technology in 1971 wasn't all that. It's really good. It's like, I don't know if they use some kind of laser cutter or something on it, but you can actually put the counter, the new terrain on your board to change the board. You're not playing on the same board every time.
Sure.
And all the hexes line up perfectly. It was actually pretty good. Valor and Victory. You want to convert a normie? That game costs exactly $0.00. It is free. You go to Board Game Geek, you download it, you print some stuff out, you're ready to go.
There you go.
Play a whole army within an afternoon.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So keeping it cheap, I would say Battle Space with plastic green soldiers.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
$9 for a PDF rule set. You can go to any shop and buy buckets.
Drugstore army. Drugstore army. Yep. What would that be like? Good God, 54 millimeters.
You can get it from the dollar store.
Yeah.
And you can Toy Story the crap out of that to get your kids in early to tabletop gaming.
There you go.
There you go.
Real quick, you said drugstore army. So it's right next to the ibuprofen?
There you go. To enact the great and historical epic battles between the green and tan empires of old.
Indeed.
Outstanding. All right, Gaz, you're up.
Hello.
Transporting your miniatures. Do you prefer sponge-filled carry cases or magnetized?
Yeah, it's something that's sort of been doing the rounds in a few of the forums I'm on, because there's been a lot of tutorials recently on, buying plastic boxes that you'll get from the DIY stores, the clear plastic, dropping in a metal plate, just to convert it so that you have something to carry your miniatures in that's keeping them secure and looking after them. And it's, for most, that's actually a cheaper option as well, because the metal and the plastic tub will come to less money than a sort of a miniature carry case with foam.
Yeah,
the likes
most
of
definitely.
Anybody, GW, Battle Foam, anyone. So my thought is, which is better, and is the sort of certain parameters that you need to sort of cover? So I have a mixture. I have a magnetized carry case because the miniatures in that one are rank and file, and they're a mix of plastic lower body, metal upper body. So they're rife to headbutt the floor on a regular basis, which is really good. And even picking them up, because you've got the weight at the top. I've got to be careful from a magnetized perspective, but I've magnetized the movement trays as well to allow me to pick up the movement tray rather than pull the models. And I think that helps protect the paint very well. At the same time, I have foam carry cases, but for example, I've just been looking at doing some cavalry models, and they are lancers. So a lance is always going to be a danger area when it comes to a carry case, be it sticking in the foam and the model moving underneath it to the point it breaks, or just getting it in and out and catching it. So for them, yes, magnetized is a bit better, but the rest of the army is not that type of model. So it's trying to find what's best overall, do you guys think? A sponge-filled carry case or a magnetized carry system?
Well, personally, it depends. If I'm going to be doing some extensive traveling, like from here over to the UK, it's going to go in foam. If I'm just traveling to my local convention, I'll put them in magnetized cases. So it depends on the mode of travel and how far I'm going. Because I have both. We backed a Kickstarter years ago called A-Case, which was like a nylon bag that had metal trays in it that you can magnetize. So we use that. Yeah. And then, we have foam cases as well that, we'll put stuff in to travel, like when we went to Ireland or, over to the UK, so to like salute or something. So it depends. It really just comes down to what you're doing, how far you got to go.
Is that because of weight, or because you think it's safer in a foam carry case?
It's safer in a foam carry case if you're putting it on an airplane, if you're checking the luggage, because I use a hard case. I don't use a soft bag. So I have my foam in a hard case. So I can check it but it's going to protect it more from being jostled and stuff if it's protected in foam versus magnetized, and it gets tossed about. The magnets, while strong, are not that strong, and you have a greater risk of stuff breaking loose and tossing around.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that goes along with it is, you have foam cases. You always have more minis than
foam.
Yep. So, hey, today we're playing, lack of a better term, dust. So you can use the same case for multiple games, multiple sets of minis.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I saw now.
Well, and one of the things that I've found is having a mix between the two seems to work, because I have most of my 28 mil stuff goes into foam trays, but the larger vehicles and whatnot that I've got don't fit into those well. Mm-hmm. And to get the foam cases that they would fit in, one is expensive, and two just takes up a ton of space. So those seem to work out better magnetized and in a box. So kind of a mixture there for me thus far.
So do you think that's because the cases aren't stackable in comparison to the sort of the plastic trays you'll get at a sort of a home base or a...
For the foam trays? Or
yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, so are you saying that the carry cases that you've got that are foam are not stackable, as in they don't link to be able to stack easily?
Well, no, they'll stack easily, but if I've got, so I've got on my little 28 millimeter trays. So those are I don't know, an inch and a half tall with little slots in them, and those stack really nice. And I can get the larger foam, but I end up having to get 4 or 5 inch thick foam to put my some of my tall vehicles in, and that just takes up so much space, because there's so much space in between the different spaces in there to put each vehicle, that it just doesn't seem very efficient, as well as those pieces of foam start to get pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for me to get one of the taller plastic storage boxes at Walmart, put a metal sheet on the bottom that cost me $1, and just magnetize them and have them stuck in there. And it's a more efficient use of space.
Yeah. So you can really cram them in there, get them almost touching, and just run it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, I don't have the same. I don't have nearly as many vehicles as I have miniatures. The little individual soldier dudes. So I don't need cases and cases of these. I need a box or two.
Okay.
The other thing with that is, if you had some game where you had smaller tanks and you had 50 of them, it would be different. You'd have something to where you could just have a lot of them in there. But when, like you said, when you've got the miniatures, the little dudes, you have a lot of the little dudes, and then you have one of this type of vehicle and then another type of that vehicle, and they're not common. They're not, they're not easily duplicated, I guess, for the lack of a better term. It's not like they fit into anything easily.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of times the foam cutouts in the trays, unless you're buying a custom tray, don't fit your vehicle real well. That's why I'm saying it's not an efficient use of space oftentimes.
Oh, okay.
That's why I like that. That's why I like having, because if I'm using a foam tray, because I've got smaller ones that fit in a nylon bag I've got, I could fit probably 6 of my vehicles in there. But if I'm putting it in a box in the same size, I can fit 8 or 10.
Hey, I think you found the best word to describe it: efficiency. The foam trays for little dudes, very efficient, very quick. But there's nothing easy and fast about foam when it comes to different sized vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, you can get custom trays, for specific stuff for games, but
yeah, I mean,
you're paying for it.
Yeah. A lot of us don't really want to. I mean, we already are pushing the envelope of our marital capital, getting the miniatures in the first place, and spending a lot of money for custom foam trays just doesn't seem to be like the best place to put that money.
Yeah, we should probably get a laser cutter and make our own.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to custom anymore because most companies do the plug foam trays, which is what I get. So it's almost as cheap as the normal cutout stuff, but it's not been custom made to fit your model. You just pluck the squares out where you need them.
Right. Yeah, I have some of those as well. That's what I initially put my vehicles in.
Yeah.
But you still
end up wastage, of space.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's just a matter of application.
Yeah.
As well as Bill brought up some good points about if you're traveling and you need to make sure that your stuff is safe and secure. You definitely want to find some way of protecting your stuff.
Yeah. All right. Good topic. Nice chat there. So I'm going to quickly talk one other item, but I'm going to change up what I put on the running order. Surprise. To talk about a couple things. First of all, Sit Rep Podcast has been given its marching orders. Yes, we have.
Yes.
So the end of April, local to us here in the Chicagoland area, is Little Wars. So they're going to have their convention, their show. It's going to be much smaller than it usually is. But as a test run for the Sit Rep field team, we're going to hit that convention Friday afternoon and all day Saturday. It starts Thursday night and goes through Sunday, but the meat of it is usually Friday afternoon, night into Saturday. So we'll be there during that time, broadcasting live from the show. So
just for clarification for folks that are listening to this, Little Wars is the name of a local gaming convention here in the Chicagoland area that is put on by the Historical Miniature Gaming Society Midwest chapter. It is not affiliated with Little Wars TV.
Correct. Good call, Marty.
Yeah. Just I didn't want people thinking that it was a Little Wars TV event.
Right. Yeah.
Not that would be bad. It just isn't.
Yep. No. No. Yeah. So we'll be there broadcasting. We're working. I'm working out where we should have booth space right on the floor. So we'll be highly visible. We'll do interviews and reviews from our booth, and then we'll have some mobile camera work as well. So that is very exciting news. So keep a lookout for updates as we get them. Another important news, Salute of this year is being moved to November. So it looks like as of right now, they're planning on having Salute. For you guys who are not familiar, Salute is probably the biggest miniature-based convention show in the UK. It's usually held in the spring in April, and it's a one-day show. It blows my mind every time I have been there that it only covers
jam it all
one
in.
day.
Yep.
So, they set up on Friday. They get ready. Saturday, the show starts at what, Gaz? 8, 9 o'clock in the morning?
I think the stall's set up. They're in for about 8:30, 9. The doors open normally at 10.
Yeah. And then it's done by 5.
I was gonna say, not only is it one day, it's a short day. It's like 10 to 4 or 10 to 5.
And then you have to be out by what, 7, 8 o'clock that night? So you have to tear down.
It's a reasonable time.
Yeah. So
done that show a couple of times.
yeah. So we've been there. Gaz has been there as a game designer, producer. Obviously, I've been there as media several times covering it, and it just blows my mind how much they crunch into less than a 24-hour period. So it's an amazing show. If you guys have never been to it, if you're in the UK or Europe and you want to go, definitely it's worthwhile. If you're in the U.S. and we're traveling and all that's good to go, I highly recommend it. It's a great show. It is all about miniature wargaming. It's not like Gen Con, which it's every game under the sun. It is the UK's dedication to miniature wargaming, and they have all kinds of gaming. So you'll see all kinds of historical. You'll see sci-fi, fantasy, whatever genre that's out there, you will see it. It's really, to me, what it reminds me of is a big shopping day. It's like where all the manufacturers from the UK and near, Europe, which will be interesting this year with Brexit, and we're not going to go there, but how that'll affect the show. What kind of offerings there will be, if that will affect it in any way, shape, or form. And, people go in there, they line up in this big queue, and then they go in there and they buy all their stuff, and, they go home and play with their new toys. There's some demo games, there's some demo tables, but it's not like Adepticon, which is a big, gaming convention. This is more like come in, you shop, you see a few demos of some new stuff, and then you go home. So it's definitely, it's a great day, though. I really enjoy it, and I highly recommend it for anybody who's really into their miniature wargaming. So that's
I think you can walk around all the stalls in probably 2 to 3 hours if you literally went to every stall. It's not what obviously some of the American cons and shows are absolutely massive. A couple of hours, it'll get you an easy walk around. You can sort of see what you want to see, and then start buying what you want to buy if you haven't caved when you saw the plastic or resin crack in front of you.
Yeah.
You normally find a couple of small company startups always seem to be there, which is great because you often find stuff that you don't know about at all and never would have if you hadn't gone to the show. There's a lot of different, like you say, genres. It covers everything. There's almost no board games, if any. The only board games would be related to pre-existing companies like Games Workshop, etc.
Right.
There is a painting competition there. If painting's your thing, that's often has a lot of the best UK painters, and some of the guys from France come over for that one to compete in that. It is recognised, I believe, for the Crystal Brush in America each year. So you do get some outstanding models in the cabinets. And it's just as an idea of where it is, it's at London XL.
Yeah.
So very easy to transition to and from, especially if you're already visiting London.
Most definitely. Easy to get to. There's the DLR. There is so many different easy ways to get there. You can actually fly into London City Airport if you really want to, because it's literally right there. So it's easy to get to. It's an amazing venue, really nice. We thoroughly enjoy it, and I have to say the meetups that we had after the show are the best. So there was if you guys are aware, I helped cover it for Beast of War, and one weekend of the show was Warren's stag party, and somehow we all were going to get on the tube and go to Trafalgar Square and raid and capture the lions and climb on them. I was forbidden. Dawn prevented me from going. She was afraid I would do something really stupid in London, and that would be that. So, but yeah.
Shocker.
But no, seriously, guys, it's a great show. Unfortunately, Adepticon has been canceled for this year. Still no word on Gen Con. Origins, I think, has been rescheduled as well to the fall, right?
Yep.
So,
Origins... I think September?
Yeah. Origins is kind of like Gen Con, but mini. Really, Origins started out that's where a lot of people went to premiere their games before they went out to the rest of the world. That's hence why it's called Origins. It's where you went to show off your wares before release. And then Gen Con was the worldwide stage to show your wares after Origins. So I'm assuming as of right now, Gen Con has not been moved or canceled. Origins is moved to the fall. Historicon, we have not heard yet. So Little Wars for Sit Rep Podcast would be our runner-up. And then Historicon, ideally, if we can work things out, I would like to see us there because that would be like our show, right? So we'll have to see. So, guys, we're going to close out the show with that. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our special guest, Jay from Feral Games, for his new Kickstarter starting on Tuesday, Ghost Ops Second Strike. I got it right that time. And to Jim, Marty, Chris, and especially Gaz, this is Bill for the Sit Rep Podcast, and we will see you later.
You have been listening to the Sitrep Podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our channels on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Remember to join us every other weekend for a new episode of the podcast, and don't forget our other programming on Wednesdays and Sundays. Thanks for listening.